Hey everyone, welcome back to the Powerhouse Podcast, where we teach you how to win your pageant and win in your mind. I'm Coach Megan. In this episode, we're going to be talking about 3 ways to stand out so your pageant judges not only notice you, but pick you as their winner. I think we have about 55 clients competing in like the next 30 days. It is crazy at the time of this recording. A lot of the USA and Miss America pageant, state pageants are aligning because the schedule is a little bit off this year. But regardless of whatever pageant you're competing in, we actually have a lot of Mrs. pageants going on right now as well. And then of course there's IJM, there's NAM, there's all these big things that happen later in the summer throughout and then getting into fall. So today I'm really excited to teach you the 3 ways to stand out. So I have a brand new, really exciting freebie for you guys at the end. So make sure that you watch all the way till the end to go ahead and grab that. Okay. First and foremost, the number 1 way to stand out to your pageant judges, and really throughout the entire pageant week, is being the most adaptable. Well, Coach Megan, why in the world would being the most adaptable cause me to do better in my interview, cause me to be more electric on stage? Well, it's because to actually be adaptable, you have to be able to be flexible. And to be flexible, you have to know yourself at such a level that little things don't get to you. So the most flexible person always wins in a scenario because you think of the root system that a person has to have. So a giant tree versus a little baby tree, okay? If you are a giant tree and a big old storm comes by, what is a giant tree thinking and saying to themselves? They are saying, not my first rodeo, been through this, we can handle this storm. And what they do is they bend. They don't stand straight up, but they bend a little bit, then they bend the other way. If you were to do a time-lapse video of a giant tree, they're incredibly flexible, and that's what helps them get through the storms. And that flexibility is actually an indication of how deep their root system really is. Then we've got tiny little trees, and maybe that tree has flashy light bulbs on it, and it's a brighter color, and you spray paint it, and you try and doll it all up, and it has a sign on it that says, I'm the biggest, baddest, most amazing tree in the world. But a little tiny wind comes through, and that tree, boom, knocks over. It might have a tiny bit of flexibility, but not really. The most flexible person in any scenario wins for this reason. You can say that you're flexible. You can tell everyone, shout it from the rooftops that you are adaptable and relatable and easygoing, but are you actually? And the time to start working on that adaptability is now. How do we build that muscle? We build that muscle by getting uncomfortable in our everyday life, by swallowing our pride in our everyday life, by choosing not to get angry and fly off the handle and be an emotional mess in your everyday life, to coach yourself in your minute-by-minute thinking, to renew your mind, to be somebody that commits themselves to personal development and reading and learning and listening and taking things in rather than just making snap judgments on things. And then you break, right? The second that you actually have to be flexible in a scenario. And that's where, it's not always just someone becoming like a drama queen either. It's just having a mental breakdown at any point and having something that is so outside of your comfort zone that you break during the pageant, right? You're crying or you can't regulate your state to the point of getting yourself into the state that you'd like to be to actually be able to compete. And so being the most adaptable is one of the greatest assets that you could ever give yourself. Now, number 2, the second way to stand out so your pageant judges notice you and pick you as their winner is be the most prepared. There is a practical side of this. You guys, I was just talking with a client yesterday on a call, or a potential client, and I was just like, can I be like your coach right now? She's like, yeah, please. And I was like, you've got 3 weeks till your pageant. Like, why didn't you call me before this? And it was a really cool moment because she thought I was going to shame her, make her feel bad. And I said, no, none of that. No, tell me why. Logistically, why are we not talking before now? Sometimes it's, oh, I didn't find your YouTube yet, or I didn't find your podcast yet, or your ad just came across my desk, or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, great. If you didn't know I existed, awesome. But a lot of you guys do know that I exist, and we're here to help you, right? And we procrastinate for various reasons. And then I asked her, I said, do you feel imposter syndrome? And she's like, well, how do you know? I said, because you waited till 3 weeks before to get any kind of coaching and help. And that is inherently stressful. And then what you're doing is you're trying to make this giant leap in your head to convince yourself that you going against 120 girls for this gigantic pageant is like an equitable exchange for 3 weeks of work. It's not. Like, people have outworked you and have been working since the day after the pageant last year. Why haven't you? Do you really want this? If you cannot step into reality with yourself in that way, acknowledging someone has worked harder or longer than you, or just what it really is, what the reality really is. Hey, you know what? I did kind of mail it in this year. Or you didn't, and you worked your butt off, and it's the exact opposite, right? But so often people ruin their own chances, and they actually self-sabotage massively because there's this trying to convince yourself, I'm worthy, I'm enough, I'm ready. I'm like, you're not ready. You're absolutely not ready. Like, if you were competing in Miss New York USA with 200 people, congratulations. 3 weeks of prep is not going to do it. And you know what? That's okay. It's perfectly okay. Maybe you could get away with that with a pageant with 4 people if you've got some natural talent. And that's cool. But we need to make sure that we're stepping into reality and being the most prepared, because that is 150% in your control. You can hire a coach. You can take yourself to the gym. You can stop eating bonbons and watching Netflix all night and replace it with podcasts like this one. You can go for a walk for 20 minutes a day. You can download some practice questions from our website. You could go through our wonderful freebie that I'm going to announce at the end of this. I almost ruined it. There are always things that you can do. If you didn't watch last week's episode yet on YouTube, go ahead and watch it. We talk about taking cause versus effect of your life. And cause is really stepping into the driver's seat and saying, you know what? Not everything that happens to me is because of me, but I do have a responsibility to take it from there and say, okay, what can I do from here? What strategies do I have? What people do I have at my disposal? What resources do I have? I've got 2 arms and 2 legs and a working body. Okay, time to get to work. Let's dust myself off. What can I do next? And unfortunately, in your pursuit of excellence and this dream that you have, people are living in a dream world. And they convince themselves that by doing the least, they're somehow going to receive the most. And that's just incongruent. Okay? Like, if someone outworks you, they're going to do better than you. Like, they just are. And that has nothing to do with your character. It has nothing to do with your worth. It has nothing to do with even what you're capable of. You just didn't do the work. And so, put yourself in the winner's circle simply by evening out the playing field in the ways that are 100% in your disposal. Be consistent, be excellent, execute, hire coaches, go to the gym more than other people. Do whatever you need to do to outwork your self-doubt, and you'll be glad that you did. And so finalizing this, number 3 is show the judges how you are the best answer and the best choice long-term, okay? How do we do that? Some of that is through our paperwork. Okay, if you've had a platform for longer than 5 seconds and you're like, no, I've been working hard on this for the last 5 years or 3 years, or I've put in 10,000 hours in this thing. This journey started 10 years ago when this thing happened to me, and I turned this into kind of my message. Here's what I've done with it so far. I've reached X amount of schools. And then there are also character attribute parts of that too. It's not just giving someone a laundry list of your accomplishments, but what's the journey? What's the story? Who have you helped along the way? What's your overall message? What are some of the aha moments that you've learned along the way because you've actually tried hard things? Okay. And so many people try to scapegoat the process, and then they only show me the achievements, and it actually makes me not believe you. Like, literally 85% of my clients have to learn how to sit in that pain a little bit longer and say, you know what? I was here and it felt like this and it sucked. And obviously don't use that language in your pageant interview, but hey, it felt like this and this was not fun. And here's how I felt in this place. And here are the actions I was contemplating that I wasn't very proud of at the moment. But then here, usually it's a guide. This is the hero story. Then this person came into my life, or then I watched this movie, or I went to this musical, or I met this person and it changed everything for me. And it made me realize XYZ, amazing thing. What'd you learn on that new path? What inspired you to want to be a leader, to now lead other people through that same journey that you went through and that same transformation, right? Is taking people through that movie reel of your own life and not skipping the parts that were just a little bit vulnerable or a little bit hard, because that's what human beings actually connect with you on. And so landing the plane here, to make a judge pick you, you have to find that thing about you, that universal quality that people can latch onto. And so often people make this mistake by just giving them the ta-da, here's the end of the movie. And then if a judge does not personally connect with you on your exact platform, people connect over pain and over emotions. So if we don't allow them into that part of ourselves, it's going to be extremely hard for a judge to really get you or get how they could personally connect with you, because you're only giving them this extremely narrow margin and window of connecting with you about the American Heart Association or veterans, right? And so we need to figure out our broad appeal as a client or as a pageant competitor. And this will help you tremendously to score higher. And it's a huge reason why people hop on strategy calls with us, because they want to know how to fix that. And as soon as I say this, they're like, oh my gosh, that's totally what I'm doing wrong. Because there's this proving energy a lot of like your story or your platform. And I've got to get a judge to realize like how important this is. And how do I get them to realize? I'm like, you're not going to get them to do anything. Like, people are lazy. They don't want to move and they want you to spoon feed things to them, right? So we have to figure out how to make ourselves such a lay down sale, like make it such a no-brainer to them that they're like, oh, well, this is obviously the choice, right? And that comes down to being the most adaptable, the most prepared, and then showing them that you are the best choice long term. You are consistent. You're not going anywhere. You can prove your results, and you're stable as well as passionate and motivated. So with that, I want to teach you guys how you can excel this year and win your pageant. And so I'm so excited that we have come out with a brand new free course that you guys can download. You guys can go to the link in the description to get your hands on that. You'll just put your name and email in and we'll send it right over to you. It's full of hours of training from me personally, walking you guys through some of the most important parts of things, just like we're talking about today, that really will make a difference in increasing your point totals, helping you understand where you're missing it, because Lord knows in most pageants we do not get feedback, and also helping you take the practical next steps towards winning your pageant. And then, of course, at the end, we'll just go over a little bit in that course of if you guys believe it's the right time to start working with a coach and you like our vibe. What you see is what you get, you guys. Who we are on the other side of coaching is exactly what you're getting here when it comes to the podcast and YouTube and everything. So if you feel like we vibe and you want to learn how to take a next step when it comes to coaching, inside that course, it'll teach you exactly how you can do that. With that, you guys, that's all for this week. I'm so excited to help you guys win your next pageant and win in your mind. I'll see you next week.